You're listening to Don't IEP Alone with special education advocate Lisa Lightner. For more information about Lisa, the IEP Toolkit, and more ways we can help you in your process, go to adayinourshoes.com. Now back to the show with your host, Lisa.
Hey there, Lisa Lightner, special education advocate here. When I first started doing this, I was so afraid to be told no. I was just so petrified that I would spend all this time with the client and we would spend all this time doing, research for the client and writing letters and record reviews and all this stuff. And I was so terrified that I would go to an IEP meeting and whatever we asked for, they'd say no. And I would feel like I failed the client and that I didn't know what I was doing. Now, I welcome the no's. I don't hear them as much anymore. Actually, thing is this, I rarely go into an IEP meeting asking for something that I cannot substantially support on paper. I don't go in asking for the moon when the present levels doesn't support it. So the reason that I get yes in meetings isn't just because I'm an advocate. It's because I'm an advocate who knows how to use the system. Now when I hear no, and if you hear no, here are a couple of tips of what you can do. Because now, from this day forward, just view the word no as a data point. You may have been told no, but view it as I just received another data point. And so what am I going to do with that data point in my data and documentation collection as I'm trying to move this team toward something specific on the IEP? Ask them. Just go ahead and ask them. Because I guarantee you this next question is going to catch your team off guard. What would you need to see in order to add this to this IEP? What type of student profile would you need to see in order to add this support or service to an IEP? What change in the data would you need to see in order to say yes to this request? Because I can guarantee you those questions are going to blow them away and they're not prepared for it. I would expect a lot of mumbling and bumbling and and stuttering and so on. They're not going to be prepared for those questions. I've met so many teams who are they're just on autopilot. And they're just on autopilot to say no to parents without even really thinking it through sometimes. They're just on autopilot. I call it the culture of no. They just say no to the parent. Most of them will back down and walk away with their tail between their legs. A few will push back and okay, so we end up giving services to a few, but we've still saved a lot of money because we said no to most of them. So push back on the no. What would you need to see to say yes to this? And then use that data point and go get that. Go get that piece of information. If you're asking for more reading minutes and your child is already 2 years behind, and they say, well, no, we're gonna cut minutes. We're not even gonna just not add minutes. We're gonna cut his pull-out reading minutes. What would you need to see to increase his reading instruction minutes? How far behind does he need to get? Sometimes you just have to say it out loud to them. Again, they're just in the habit of saying no because they don't have the resources to tell you yes. They don't have the teachers. They don't have the time. to give all these kids what they need, so they just automatically say no? What would you need to see to get to yes? See what they say. And always follow up in writing. If you talk about that in a meeting, follow that up. I am agreeing at this time that we are only, my son is only going to receive X number of minutes. However, if he, reaches whatever, XYZ, then his minutes will be increased. Because then you've at least got their feet to the fire for the next time. If they've agreed to, well, if I saw this kind of student profile, that's who we get. And again, ask them, I told you this a couple of podcasts ago. What type of student profile gets this amount of services? And if you're saying no to this, what type of progress do you expect him to make if we are cutting minutes? How do you expect, if he's only made this amount of progress from the last IEP to this one, and now you're cutting the minutes, how much progress do you expect him to make between now and the next progress monitoring period? And again, they're going to say the same thing that I said last time. Oh, we can't, every child's an individual. We can't predict that. Okay, so are you telling me that this is just an arbitrary number of minutes that you're choosing? And tell me how you got here. Tell me how you got to this number. Okay? Again, don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. Challenge them. Ask them. Your child deserves no less. Your child deserves better than arbitrary numbers and arbitrary service minutes on their IEP. But unfortunately, schools are struggling and they're panicking, and that's just what they're doing. A lot of them are just pulling these arbitrary numbers out based on what they can afford. Okay? All right, tune in next time. Thank you so much for being here. I truly hope that these questions and talking points for your IEP meeting and your IEP team are helping you. Feel free to leave a comment for future suggestions, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you for listening to Don't IEP Alone with special education advocate Lisa Lightner. We're so glad you've joined us and would love to connect with you outside of the show. For more information about Lisa, the IEP Toolkit, and more ways we can help you in your process, go to adayinourshoes.com. From self-care tips to common IEP mistakes, there's even more to explore. Don't forget to rate and review the podcast and subscribe to never miss an episode. Until next time, don't IEP alone. And you don't have to.